Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the fifth round of the Telenet Superprestige, which took place on the circuit of Heus de Zolder. And with me here as always is Issam.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Issam, I got back from Zolder. I personally really like this course. It's one of my favorite ones out there. The long start finish straight in combination with fast racing, some nice climbs. It really makes for a nice dynamic and some good racing, which we got today. My life was complicated a little bit because, well, there's some press credentials here on the microphone, but not around my neck. Today, and you wouldn't really imagine this, first I arrive, the technical guide says you need to go to the green stairs of the paddock. Turns out, much like the last 3 years, it's still an old version of the technical guide. They never change it. You need to go to the blue stairs. Then you go in there. It's still closed when I arrived before the juniors. Opened about 15 minutes, maybe an hour before the junior woman. And then, where's the press credential? Not there. The person who was supposed to bring them only brought the credential passes for Diegem. So instead they said, just take a lanyard and tell the course marshals that you are press with the lanyard, which didn't go down too well, as you can imagine.
Yeah. So, that made your life a little difficult, I guess, today.
Oh, just a little bit, but I'm taking off the lanyard now. It's a funny story. It's funny how, like in cyclocross and many of these sports, you still kind of depend on like these small little things. And if somebody makes a small mistake and grabs the press cards for Diegem instead of Zolder, then this is where you end up as written press. But everything was fine for the rest. Nice day. Unfortunately, not that busy, but plenty of good racing. And we should start by discussing the men's race. We had a great battle. Tibor Del Grosso racing with white pants, kind of mimicking the look of Van der Poel, also with the helmet a little bit, but he took off very fast early on. First with demon starter Kevin Kuhn. Felipe Orts also eager to make something of it. He finally had a good day, but both of them couldn't keep up with Del Grosso. Del Grosso for the first 20 minutes put the hammer down, made advantage of Thibaut Nys and Wout van Aert not having great starts. Thibaut Nys never really got into this race. You could see he didn't have a good day. He was always at the back of the group, and if that's the case, you know Thibaut Nys is not in his element. If he has a good day, he's normally at least moving up. Van Aert did have a semi-good day. He moved up through the field from group to group, first from the third group to the second, and then he was the only one able to bridge across to the leader, Tibor Del Grosso. The two were together, Del Grosso putting Van Aert under serious pressure for a majority of the race. On the technical sections, Del Grosso was so much better, so much smoother, so much quicker through the uphills, the downhills, the corner where he'd go onto the tarmac. He just had a better feel for the bike. Van Aert, as a result, you could see out of the corners, eager, out of the saddle, really putting the power down. Del Grosso kind of chilling in the wheel, at least by the optics of it. In the final lap, however, it was Van Aert who took over, knowing that he couldn't be in a similar position because he would probably be dropped at that point. He kept the pace high on the straightaways, and Del Grosso needed to settle for a place in the wheel. It came down to a sprint à deux between the two of them. Van Aert dropped the pace, it was low speed, and then it was Del Grosso who, with about 180, maybe something like that meters to go, launched the sprint 150. He went from the wheel. It was very close side by side, but ultimately it was Del Grosso who took the win ahead of Van Aert. Third place went to Michael van Toerenhout after a thrilling battle there as well. But first we should discuss that battle for the win, Issam. Really good race here, very tense. Bit different than what we saw the last couple of races with Mathieu van der Poel there. And yeah, Del Grosso, it finally clicks. I mean, we've spoken a lot about his talent, and in recent days we've seen glances of that talent. But the back, yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and it becomes very difficult. He took yesterday off, and here, perhaps a course that also suits him quite well. I guess all courses suit Del Grosso well. It's hard to find one that doesn't suit him, but very strong outing by him. And yeah, I'm struggling to see like what made the difference today. Overall, I would probably say he had more left in the tank. Is it a surprise that Van Aert loses the sprint? I don't really think we can say so anymore, because how many small group sprints have we seen Van Aert lose this year? So many on the road. In the cross, it's been the same case. Like, I'm not surprised that he didn't win that sprint. So I guess in the end, Del Grosso had just more left in the tank. Van Aert is very vulnerable in these small group sprints, also in the sprints à deux. And it doesn't really help when you've been chasing the first 30 minutes. And then when you reach Del Grosso, he just continues putting the hammer down.
I think a lot lays as well in the start and the chasing that he had to do in the beginning of the race, which those are gaps that eventually will catch up and they will hurt you in a way. And especially right now, the margins were so small in the sprint as well. Then you can basically point at a lot of things. And I think that mainly Van Aert can blame himself in terms of, the starting phase of the race and the energy that he had to spend to get back, because none of the other riders was really able to get back to Del Grosso and Kuhn. And I think there Van Aert just spent quite some energy. And then I think that he two things in his mind that he also told the media about in the post-race interview, where he was talking about the headwind. I think that also was something that played a role, as you stated, is, technically Del Grosso was just so comfortable, so much better, cleaner, getting through it way faster, didn't really make that many mistakes at all, if you can even see a mistake left or right. And Van Aert was, I think you could see it, that he was thinking, how am I he's gonna ruin the party. This is my party, I'm gonna win here. This is home crowd in a way. I want to win. I need that win. And I think that he thought that with a couple of hard pulls up front, he would probably drop Del Grosso. And I had to say, I thought that Del Grosso would have a difficult time hanging on, but I think that he maybe even by choice was happy to be in the wheel. He didn't panic at all when they went on the last lap. Del Grosso, the way he went over the barriers, that was dirty work there to Van Aert. I think he put him there on 1.5, maybe even 2 seconds, and Van Aert used that opportunity very well, but I think that in his mind he was just he was like, I don't know how I'm gonna lose him, and we're gonna have that last section, and it's very technical, and then I think he just, I wouldn't say panicked, but I think personally that the worst thing he could have done in that sprint is dropping the pace completely down, to a guy that is young, that is fast, that is very, very, very explosive also in a way, has shown that in sprints, even on the road. That is also something that he should look at. We have seen it now a couple of times. I'm not going to say that he is, that he can never win a sprint in such a scenario, but he just brings in a couple of stuff and a couple of factors that he shouldn't bring in. You're Van Aert. You can make a longer sprint. You can sprint from 2:20 or something, and if you lose, it is what it is. You tried, but now I feel like you almost wanted to lose. I don't know. I was looking at that last lap, and I was like, if Del Grosso is able to hang on, it's going to be difficult. If you're going to slow down and sprint up until the last 200 meters, and even later than that, like 180, if what you're saying, or 185 or whatever, that is just too short, I guess. And it really plays in the cards of Del Grosso. So I think that is maybe a mistake. I don't know if you can say that it was a bad day, because I felt that, he was the only one really, apart from Del Grosso and Kuhn at the start, but I think there were a lot of people sleeping today in the peloton. He was the only one that was really able to put everyone under pressure, apart from Del Grosso. And he was able to break away from that group. And I can still see that image of Philippe Orts looking at Van Toerenhout, or Van Toerenhout looking at Philippe Orts, and Orts is like, no, I'm dead. I'm not going to take over here. And Van Toerenhout then was also, he felt the legs, and he was like, I'm not going to pull here either. And you saw that everyone kind of came back, and you just knew how that race would play out. It was going to be Del Grosso and Van Aert that are going to be racing for victory. And naturally, it should have been Van Aert winning. And behind them, it was going to be that group that would ride for third place. And Zolder in a way is a tricky course. It's tough, and it's fast, and you can make a mistake and you don't even know it. And at the end of it, you kind of just realize the mistakes that you have done, because it's fractions of moments, and it's a very fast race, and you get punished for certain moves that you maybe in our other races are not gonna get punished for. Yeah. Del Grosso ruined the party, I guess, for Van Aert and for a lot of Belgian fans, I guess.
But should it have been Van Aert winning? Because shouldn't we change our perspective based on what we've seen the last year and a half, 2 years? Like, you can't win a sprint against Remco Evenepoel in the Brabantse Pijl for the win. in other situations, he also loses in these small groups. He loses against Paulus and Dwars door Vlaanderen. We've seen so many situations now that we shouldn't keep Van Aert in mind as the same rider he was a number of years ago. I think he's definitely lost some of that explosive punch power, and therefore I wasn't that surprised. It's a bit of a situation for Van Aert where he's damned if he doesn't and damned if he does in terms of launching the sprint. Look, I agree with your assessment that he waited too long. He didn't need to wait for Del Grosso to launch from the wheel and try and catch him. He could have launched earlier, indeed slightly longer. But the wind was howling down that straight, so certainly it made sense that he decided to take it a little easy after the steep downhill. That made sense, but yeah, he should have launched earlier. On the other hand, I guess my point more is Issam, he's not the same rider anymore. I don't think it was a bad day today. I certainly just think that cross-technical skills of Del Grosso drained Van Aert. The bad start due to a lower call-up of Van Aert also hampered him, whereas Del Grosso was right there from the go, eager to really give it a absolute shot at the win today. So combining those things, I think, yeah, of course, we expect Van Aert because of his name and the legacy to win, but if you factor everything in and everything you see, maybe we also just need to accept that combine Van Aert with the form he is in now, plus what we've seen in sprints the last couple of years, that it's just very difficult for him, and perhaps we shouldn't be expecting him to win these races, especially when you know he's up against Del Grosso, who is a rider who we know is also very fast in a sprint.
I agree in a sense, but I think the start killed him here. I think that if he had a good start and he didn't have to chase that was a gap of like 14, 15 seconds that he had to close. So it was not an easy task for him, and Del Grosso was helped there by Kuhn as well in the later phase of the chase for Van Aert. He shouldn't have dropped the pace. I think going early it's difficult because headwind, so it's hard to make that decision. But I think just the way he dropped the speed completely, it was. I didn't understand that. I thought, come on, you gotta pace yourself a little bit. You are the guy that needs a little bit of speed, and now you're just going to completely take out the speed. And Del Grosso, I think, was so thankful, and he was the first to launch as well. So I mean, there were some that took the resemblance that we saw in the Tour of Flanders sprint between Van Aert and Van der Poel, and I think there is some resemblance in that for sure. The white bibs, Dutch champion. But I think that Van Aert could have won this race. I think that he had, Del Grosso that was very strong. By the way, I can remember like 2 seasons ago, we had a Del Grosso also here in Zolder racing with the elites, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, correct.
Racing super well. He gave a very good, strong impression there. So this is a course that for Del Grosso, in my opinion, it just suits him well. It's fast. It's it's a hard surface. He can. There is a little bit of speed that he can get through and play around. He just finds his flow there. And if Del Grosso would maybe design a course, you might come up with something like this. And for Van Aert, I think that the long straights and the long sections where you can just power down, you could see that suited him so well. And he was even able to put Del Grosso under pressure. It's hard to see that from the face of Del Grosso because he puts this poker face on and he's not faced by anything. You cannot really read anything from his body language. He's only stretching his back. But I think that he was hurting him, and I don't know. It could have played differently. I would have loved to see it being played out a little different. And if he would have lost, if he paced himself a little harder, maybe went earlier, it was then reasonable. It's a mistake. It can happen. But now I just feel like you kind of handed it to him. You didn't even try. You tried on the sections where you really know that Del Grosso will always be able to follow you. You were never going to make the difference on the last part. When it was going to get a sprint, I think the best position would have been in second. So if it's going to be ahead.
Yeah.
But then you have to be in the last section, you have to be maybe in front. And then, before the finish, you have to just try and be in second place. It's hard to do, but you have to try something. And now it was just after the difficult section on the last part of the lap. I think you're just in a scenario where it's just so difficult to do anything. And look, it's just a super prestige in a way, so we don't have to overanalyze it, I guess. But I think that Van Aert is still showing good signs. He should, kind of forget about this race, play the scenario in his head once or twice, see if he can find a different way of winning it, and move on. Because there are coming races up that I think that he is going to be the very best, and his win is coming for sure this season. In my opinion, it's I wouldn't say a matter of time, but if Van der Poel is not showing up, Dendermonde for sure is one of the races that comes to mind if it rains. That should be a race where he normally is for me by far the biggest favorite.
Look, I don't think there was any world in which Van Aert was going to take that corner in second position, but that's because he had to be in the lead over that hill, because that was his weakest section all day. So then I think we're arguing different points here. I'm saying I'm not surprised that he does everything you say, because I've seen him do it so many times. I've seen him fall for this thing so many times. And you're still doing the rightful analysis that, if he does this different or if he improves this, he might actually be able to win a sprint at the... I agree with what you say, Issam. Like, there's so many things he can do different. I'm just not surprised anymore. And at this age that he is now, I just can't see him change it anymore. 5 years ago, you mentioned that sprint in the Tour of Flanders. From then, there have been many instances in which he could have played such a small sprint differently, and he didn't. So I guess that's the difference in the points we're making here. Earlier you said something about spoiling the party, and for that, yeah, I mean, you know how these things goes. Van der Poel is not here, Van Aert moves up through the field, and all of a sudden the race announcer on course says, oh yeah, with this power, Van Aert is able to challenge Van der Poel. It's looking good. I'm like, dude, what? This is like making the case that the Grinch and Rudolph are both the same level of legendary for saving Christmas. No, they're not. Rudolph is the GOAT. He saved Christmas because on that foggy night he came out with his red nose and he lit up and pulled the sled. And don't forget, he was pulling the sled after that. Not a one-time wonder. No, then you have the Grinch. My friend, for the Grinch there would be nothing to save if he didn't steal Christmas in the first place. Like, this is two different tiers. And if you see Hofstade yesterday, where Van der Poel just gives a beating to everyone there, how can we say that Van Aert, because he closes a 14-second gap to Thibaut Del Grosso, is all of a sudden on the level of Mathieu van der Poel? Please. But that will be Belgium for you. And honestly, Netherlands is the same when it goes the other way around in many other sports. Cyclocross isn't that big, but speed skating, getting the bow comes close to Jordan Stoltz one time, and oh yeah, we're back on for 3 Olympic gold medals, blah, blah, blah. This is just the way it goes in sports. But that was definitely a funny observation. So I think I said everything there was about the two front runners. We went over that sprint quite long, but it was quite interesting because of that start, Del Grosso took in the end the most fruits from it. I agree with your assessment that start cost Van Aert, but behind, yeah, I mean, Orts in the mix for the podium, Kuhn in the mix for the podium. Kuhn at some point definitely was seeing at least 3 or 4 Wout van Aerts in front of him with how deep he was going to try and follow, and the inevitable blow-up happened, but he kind of repacked himself, still finishing in the top 10. But then a bigger battle. I mean, Nijs never really in it. I don't think he had a good day today. Hendricks was there for a while. I saw Viseur pull a lot. Much positive for Viseur. This block is definitely going better and better every race, which he really needed after that super poor phase. But then, good old Michael van Torenhout gets it done in the final lap. Kind of pulled it out of the bag. I didn't really know where it came from. I thought Van der Putte would have that in the bag for sure, because Van Torenhout active around 20 minutes into the race, leading the chase. At some point also took the lead from that leading group, but then, yeah, he kind of sat in, but in the final lap still pulled it from somewhere. He has been sick last weekend, so for him also, this is just the time of the year, right, Issam? We can see how quickly it can change. You're sick, and then you skip a race and you come back. Other people today, many DNS, Ronhaar out with some back issues, Sveek out, probably feeling totally deflated, Nieuwenhuis out after a flat and then a bike change that went wrong. I saw Stromae pull out of the race. I saw many people. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2 front runners. It was a battle of attrition. I mean, 4 races in 4 days is not for the weak.
When actually something happens in your race, it's so hard to recover because the pace is just so high. It never really drops. There's always someone that wants to pull. There's always something that is happening, and the moment the pace kind of drops, someone thinks of attacking again. So it's just, when you're behind, you have to question yourself, and you have to be, very strong-minded to be racing. And I think there are a couple of riders that are definitely racing right now with an idea of, if this goes wrong or that goes wrong, I will not finish, and we'll see what comes next. So it's kind of natural in a way. It's a bit of a shame for some of the riders, because some are more forced. We're more forced to drop out, and will actually be more hurt in the with the classification. It's like someone like Nieuwenhuis, that will cost him now on the Superprestige classification. So that is a good riddance, and bye bye. So Van Torenau definitely pulled off a nice podium here, and I have to say, if you're gonna ask me how he did it, I don't know. I was too focused on the two in front. So I saw some footage. We saw some footage of the move that he made on the last lap, but it was the focus was all on the two, and maybe for the first time the race directors made somewhat the right decision. So I'm not gonna be on them today, but. Viseur, for me, that is a good reintroduction again, I guess, to the front of the race. I think that he pulled the most out of anyone there behind when Van Aert and Del Grosso were gone. Was it the smartest way of racing? No, I don't think so. But I think that he is showing that there is some form, there is life. There is maybe some light in the season of Viseur, and maybe he can bounce back now from what has been an awful period, like a terrible period, like something that you don't want to have at all, and was so far off from what he can be. So I think that what we saw today was again a little bit of Viseur that we saw in the beginning of the season, where we were thinking, okay, he's going to maybe improve on that even. So that is a good thing, and hopefully that is a sign that he can that it can carry on into the next coming races, because it's going to be important to do that. And there are still some races where he can salvage what he has kind of lost and have a good feeling about this season in a way, because it was heading towards disaster. But I think he's bouncing back, and Zolder is a difficult race to judge because it's so fast, because it's so different to certain races, and you cannot really know what it will mean for the coming weeks. But I just hope that it's maybe a good sign, and that it will come forward in the next coming races for Viseur.
Then maybe something just short on Thibaut Nys, because he was in that mix for a while, but ultimately he didn't have it. I think the thing that I just said, ultimately, it was to me quite clear early on that he didn't have it. I said that in the summary. If he is in the positioning game and doesn't really place himself in that group, in that battle, you can already see he doesn't have the stamina, he doesn't have the legs. So I think it's a bit unfortunate. We're seeing a bit of a return to the more inconsistent Nys, the version of Nys we thought we'd left behind, but it is what it is. Let's look at the entire top 10 then. Del Grosso, Van Aert, Van Torenhout was the podium. Van der Putten 4th ahead of Joran Viseur. Orts with a really good result. Kuhn 7th, Hendricks 8th, Fontana 9th, and Gerben Kuipers 10th. I think for me the performance here of the day is Filippo Fontana 9th place. I think, at least off the record, I've said at some point that he's having a very good season, scoring these just on the bubble of the top 15 of the World Cup. And now here on a course, he did really well today.
I heard that he had the fastest lap on lap 7. I'm not sure if that is... It was said during the broadcast, so I cannot confirm if that really happened. But he was on a roll. He was really on a roll, and I think that... I guess he found a great course. Some of the riders that were there kind of faded and were not able to hang on, and he was one of the riders that was very eager and was moving up. He was there on with Kuipers, left him behind. So I think that that is definitely a very. I think that I have to agree with you that is definitely performance of the day. I cannot, fastest lap, finishing in the top 10. Most of the protagonists were here. So, yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. And I think that was definitely a performance that is worth mentioning. And I think you said it on record even, that he has been on a very good season. So, hey, I mean, that is definitely, that is an up for him. And I'm looking forward to maybe some more fast races. There are some that are coming, so who knows what he can do there, and maybe he's also there a candidate for top 10. One that comes to mind maybe is Benidorm.
really remarkable career trajectory for him as well. Never really a talent in the under 23 categories. Showed some stuff in Italy, mainly a mountain biker. This season, really the first time in a long time he's taking cyclocross this serious again, and it's paying off. So it's really great to see, and it adds to a stronger stretch of Italian results, because we also had Gioele Bertolini, 15th place, good result for him. He's a former top 10 finisher in World Cups. Mattiago Sinacchio, also good recovery ride from a bad start, moving up to 18th. So the Italians definitely moving. Also in the youth categories, we had a 1-2 in the women's junior race. In the men's junior, it was also a 1-2 with Grigolini beating Pezzo Rosola. So all in all, a good day for the Italians. Let's move to the women's race then, because that too, without Lucinda Brandt, was very exciting. We had at some point 7 leaders quite deep into the race. We had Ribeirol, we had Moors, 2 Belgian riders up there. Marie Schreiber was there with her teammate Catablanca Vache, who's now really back. Fouquenet was there, Aniek van Alphen and Inge van der Heijden. It was a nice duel. It was a very, can I say, passive race, Issam? Because I feel, at least from the side, there wasn't that much happening. It was Van Alphen setting the pace, but everybody was scared. Nobody really willing to make a big move until the penultimate lap, when Fouquenet hit the front, tightened the screws, super high pace on the section around the new run-up. I like the changes to the course, by the way. There, she broke clear on the start-finish straight. Immediately, Blanca Vache flicking the elbow, nobody coming through, game over. Fouquenet racing towards the win, Vache sprinting home for second ahead of Aniek van Alphen. Lots of positives from this race. Fouquenet winning, definitely the biggest one. Ladies and gentlemen, Amandine Fouquenet, you can pick her up for free. For free, Superprestige race winner. For sure, like the best undrafted agent there is, and that, I mean, just incredible stuff.
Yeah, incredible. I think she made, she got that opportunity, and you should not give Fouquenet a couple of meters, because when she has a gap, she will go for it. She has that mentality in a way that she's not looking back, and she will just, go. And you have to follow, because if you're not doing that, especially on the course that we got today with Zolder, it's just good luck trying to close 2-3 seconds.
Yeah, it's game over.
It's game over. It's game over. And behind that, I saw that Vache was looking to Van der Heijden and to Van Alphen, and I think rightfully so. It's not up to her. And after the race, Van Alphen was not very happy. You are the one that is losing out, because it's your classification. So they were talking about the fact that they were thinking about the classification, but Fouquenet is actually a candidate. She can actually play a role in the classification of the Superprestige. So I did not really understand what was going on there. And at some point you have to make a decision. Is either you're losing the race, or you're going to try and gamble and try to win the race, and it might mean that you get back. And someone behind you is profiting from the work that you have put in. But that is how it goes here in Zolder, if you actually allow someone to get away. And you have to play the game. Fouquenet played the game perfectly, because I have to say she gave a strong impression throughout the race. Vache was also surprisingly in a way strong, but also not really surprisingly, because this is a course where she just finds her flow. This is one of the better courses that there is on the calendar, I guess, for Vache. And you could see that she was, she was in a rhythm. She was kind of feeling it. She was feeling the race. But then she makes that small mistake on the last part of the lap, and that's just so tricky there. And Fouquenet made use of it, and then you cannot really blame Vache. And I saw also that on the start finish, when they were also almost finishing, Vache overtook Van Alphen in the sprint, and Van Alphen was not happy and kind of not having it. That is the game. The game is that you have to try and fight for every position, and Vache is trying to boost the morale in a way, and it's kind of necessary. So if you have an opportunity to get second instead of third, you have to take it, and you should not really. She's not a teammate. There's no, they didn't make any, they didn't have any small talks before the race. Like, look, if I'm going to be in that position, you have to let me through or whatever. So it is what it is. You have to deal with it. And Vache did what she had to do and finished in second. And I think also a very strong ride. Good to see Van der Heijden being more at the front. I did not expect it, to be honest. Van Alphen again playing a big role in a race yet again, and being at the front, and just being up there is also yet again, the consistency there in a way of trying to be there or thereabouts is also commendable in a way, and needs to be appreciated.
Very well said, Issam. We might have been at a former Formula 1 circuit, but definitely papaya rules and no Multi-21 or Barrichello Schumacher stuff going on over there. So, no, why would Vash need to do it for Van der Alphen and Van der Heijden? I mean, in the first place, why are you fussing over the Superprestige overall at this point? Like, there's still 3 races to come. Like, it's not like it's the last race and everything depends on it. Plus, Fouquenet is also a threat in this classification. She's been doing well, so it's ultimately up to yourself and your own responsibility to take care of the race. I didn't really get much of that bickering going on from the course side, but it just doesn't make sense hearing that from you. And again, I do think that they also kind of created that situation themselves. They could have continued with the 4 of them, but they were looking at each other. They allowed Ribeiro and Morse to come back. They allowed Schreiber to come back after she was dropped. They allowed Vash to come back, who was also dropped at one point. Like, there were numerous opportunities. Van Alphen placed a few attacks in the second part of the course, but then wasn't able to really continue it. What you can see is that Van Alphen is extremely confident on the bike. We've seen that before, like the downhill before the stairs, just sending it down there, leaning over, kind of letting her body do the heavy steering. Really great to see. And yeah, she tried to use that, but I told you yesterday, Fouquenet was going to win. And for once, my prediction was good. I really think that this is a good course for her. Not too much technical. There is plenty of power. And it worked today. And maybe the funny thing is that it was a combination of the power and the technical that did make it work. Because she broke clear after some mistakes by the others in the final part. Mainly Vash. So, yeah, Fouquenet, just a flawless ride. And rumor in Radio Peloton is that she's been talking with the Rotov brothers and that is where negotiations are undergoing. There's also this other rumor, which we said earlier, that there might be a new 4th team coming, which would combine Ryan Kamp with Hélène Clauzel and now potentially also then Amandine Fouquenet. So let's see where that heads, but that's certainly some optimistic news.
Yeah, although Kamp is not a certainty, because he has been talking about uncertainty with his contract, and I think even that he confirmed that he is going to be let go at the end of the season. So I'm not sure how that is going to play out, but Kamp is not a certainty for sure, and he might actually be looking for a new team. So I don't know how that is going to play out, but yeah, those are definitely rumors, but rumors are rumors, and we have to see how that will eventually all play out.
Maybe some happy noises coming from Michael van Toeren out there. Don't think he needs to expect a call from Paul Sousa at this point. So then it becomes increasingly difficult on the cyclocross scene to get a contract out of the Roodhoofds, which is quite weird because they kept supporting him through recent years and then he didn't do that good. Like this season he's been better, but whatever. They can't employ 90% of the peloton, so perhaps there will be a new opportunity arising for Ryan Kamp somewhere. He's certainly worthy of a contract. He's shown it quite a lot this season. But Fouquenet, hopefully she gets the support. Maybe it's first a structure like, oh yeah, we'll just support her through whatever until January 1st. But I'm not believing this Hélène Clauzel, my kit didn't arrive. I mean, it's freaking December. Like... Come on, you can say this maybe in October, but it's December. For Eurocross Academy, the skin suits from Verge, they were rushed here within a week and a half. So this is not the clothing issue unless the factory burnt down, which I'm sure we would have heard of by now. So something is definitely going on there, and I think we will find out, knowing the Roodhoof communication team. It will probably be on January 1st. In Baal, they will put out a press release, maybe on New Year's Eve or whatever, when everyone is drinking the champagne.
In the morning.
Yeah, in the morning you just show up to the course and then all of a sudden it's no Corendon anymore and it's I think, what was it then, Phoenix, I don't even remember what it was called back then, but Phoenix came in and all of a sudden everything changed and the bus was wrapped differently. That was so stupid. Okay, but I don't care if it's stupid. As long as it gets Fouquenet a ride, I will be happy and I will be pleased. And this win was just wonderful to see. A really wonderful story of a wonderful season. And one that, in my opinion, hasn't been getting enough attention in the Belgian press. Just the the comeback narrative and all the adversity that you need to overcome to perform like this. Van Alphen lost out to Vash in the end. Let's discuss Vash a bit, because in the past, I mean, we've mentioned the riders, the favorites quite a bit, like the riders that we thought could maybe have been the contenders against Brandt, and Vash was one that we maybe skipped over a number of times. I did at some point mention her, of course, as a championship specialist, and today was quite good. I agree with your earlier comment that this was a good course for her and easier to get in, but what we said when she raced that little trip around the Koppenberg, we already said, yeah, it doesn't really matter. We don't attach any value to this, because last year she did the same. She didn't really train. She does this for fun and maybe a few points that she gets from it. This year it was also combined with her honeymoon, so it really didn't matter at all. But it looked good today, and I think the SD-Works team can be quite happy. Schreiber looked much better than in previous races, also for once able to finish a race. Sure, the lights went out at the end. Maybe went a bit too eager in the beginning, like we've seen her do a number of times. But overall, I'm not too critical of Schreiber today, because it is a big step up from not being able to finish the races in Koksijde, for instance.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you have to also look where she kind of came from. Before this race, I was like, it was a big question mark for me, both Vash and Schreiber, to be honest. I think that Vash surprised me more than Schreiber, and I think that is more also because we just didn't really have a reference, and I was interested in what that's going to mean in a way, her return, and how that is going to, in what result that is going to be converted in. And I think she surprised me in a good way. I might have expected like a drop in performance in the later phase of the race, like we have seen, like, there's Vash, and then you're like, where is Vash? And just disappears completely. He's not able to run over a hill, and those kind of things. And it's today it wasn't the case, so that's good. And I hope that we'll see that in the next coming races. There are some races that are coming up where she normally would also do well. The running is still not great, but that is just it, I guess. It was not terrible, but it was definitely not great. And overall, I think it was all right. So it shows that the form is there. The training has been good. Just taking it a little bit easier and waiting the season out a little bit until you feel more confident and then jump in the season. Don't think that was a bad decision. For now, it looks all right. So we have to see what that will mean in the next coming races. But I think, as I said, Diegem is a hard course to judge, because it's just so fast and it's so different from what we still are going to get in the next coming weeks. So we have to wait and see. But yeah, I think we cannot really look ourselves and say that was a mistake to not talk a lot about Vash, because to be honest, there was not really much to talk about, and everything that we would say was pure speculation and based on results from the past, and should not really do that all too much. We need some reference, and I think we got the reference somewhat today, and hopefully in the next coming races.
If we're talking about riders that maybe faded a bit at the end of the race, in the case of Schreiber, we should also mention Floor Moors. I think it was a good race by her, moving her way up, but for her too, like, maybe that's just the youth in her, she doesn't have that experience, but she pulled Ribeirol all the way to the front, and then once they were there, it was Ribeirol who was the one taking the advantage of it, finishing 5th, Moors fading and finishing 6th, quite some distance behind. So that was kind of my observation there. If we look at the entire top 10, Fouquenet, Vash, Van Alphen, Van der Heijden, Ribeirol, Moors, Schreiber, Neff in 8th, Julie Brouwers in 9th, and Raphaël Carrier in 10th. Yeah, some opportunities for other riders to show themselves. Carrier, first year U23, getting a top 10. Definitely an encouraging result for the Canadian talent, medalist at last year's World Championships in Ливан, finishing 3rd, I say, from the top of my head, beating Grossman and Cusack. Good result for her. Definitely a course that suits her well. She's also with Arkea, so for her too a contract situation, but I've heard that she is already signed somewhere on a team that will allow her to focus on at least the mountain bike, but there is also potential of a road program, but I don't have the details on that one. But 3 sources did tell me that she is being taken care of today. So that much for Carrier. I think then, Issam, it's time to move to Noah's 9.
Catch the heat!
Noah's 9. Yes, Noah's 9. We're not doing the Mud Mountain today. That will come after Gavre or maybe after Diegem. Honestly, I don't know. It's so busy at this period.
Maybe never.
Maybe never. Maybe we just do away with Issam and I just do the podcast myself. No, I'm just kidding. Let's catch the heat though and go into Noah's 9 because there's plenty to discuss. Coming back into the list, she's been in here only 1 week earlier this season. Blanca Vash, second place today, moves her into 9th. I think she was, at least to me, making a stronger appearance than other riders I considered. Bentveld, Schreiber and also Zemanova. Didn't want to place Backstedt in here yet because we have one race before she starts in Dendermonde. 8th place, Inge van der Heijden falling down. Today was an okay race, but the last couple of races just haven't been that good. The riders in front have almost all consistently been better than her. The only one who you can't really make that case for is 7th place, Casasola, also dropping from 3 to 7. She's been sick, having some digestive issues, and therefore not really able to race. And with just how tight it is, and we're going to come to like some super difficult decisions here in a bit, then I just thought it would be the easiest way for myself to move her down. But a fit Casasola on a course like Gavre, like Dendermonde, like Baal, I wouldn't really want to bet against her finishing on the podium there if she is fit, but we don't know if that is the case. 6th place for today's winner, Amandine Fouquenet. Really good, but today there were some absences and it's so tight. I spent so much time, like the entire car ride back from Zolder, I was just thinking, what am I going to do? Like, how? But this is what I went with. Fouquenet in 6, she's good, but yeah, I just think that ultimately the riders in ahead that I'm going to name are just slightly better. 5th place, Puk Pieterse had a good start to the season, a solid one. 4th in Namur, then beat Fouquenet on courses that don't suit either of them this weekend in Kokzijde and in Antwerp. So Pieterse 5th place. 4th place, Ceylon Alvarado, another difficult one. Really good outing in Antwerp, that definitely factored in considering she came back from illness. Solid performance in Kokzijde. Then the starting back issue, not going into Hofstade. It worries me. It worries me, all these back issues at the Alpecin teams. We know the history of Van der Poel. We've seen now with Del Grosso some back issues. Alvarado again. I just hope not. But for now, Alvarado on 4. Definitely yo-yoing and shooting up and down this ranking. 3rd place. Also thought super long about this. Shirin van Anrooy. Maybe there's some sandcourse bias coming in here, but I thought her performance at Antwerp was good. She's been an upward trajectory, good results. Flamanville was a good start of this month. Kokzijde was a good performance. Hofstade was okay, but it's so close that the next time we come here after a few races, she can easily have fallen down to 6th. There's just nothing separating them. Aniek van Alphen retains 2nd place for now. She's been beaten by these people this weekend, but she's at least consistently up there. I don't really have any negative remarks other than maybe the tactical aspect today. So she's in 2 and on number 1. The leading woman this season, the dominant force, didn't race today. 3 wins, 3 days was enough for her. Lucinda Brandt retains on top of Noah's 9 for, I don't know, what are we at? Maybe the 11th week straight?
Forever.
Yeah.
Maybe Van Empel. Yes, Van Empel. I think you had Van Empel the first week or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Van Empel in the beginning of the season, and then Brandt, I think, took over after, well, not Koppenberg, before Koppenberg already. I think after here the weekend, I put Brandt on 1, and she's been on there at that point forever. So she's the leading woman, and we'll see a lot more from that in the upcoming weeks, Issam. So we're going to take a little breather, 2 days off, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then we will be back with, I at least, will be wearing a Christmas hat. And I hope you will be joining me, Issam, for Boxing Day to discuss the racing in Gavre.
I have no Christmas hat here. I don't know where I will find one. I have to buy one.
Tomorrow you can go to the shops and fight a few thousand other people in The Hague trying to get a Christmas hat. Go to the HEMA, go to the Xenos.
I will definitely look forward to that. No,
Good.
but yeah, I cannot even discuss your top 9. I cannot even go into that. That's like weird.
If you want, we can. But if you have any comments, please feel free, roast me.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, I don't know what is worse, Fouquenet there in 6th. Yeah, they're in 6th, right? Or her not having a team. I mean, I don't know which is worse, to be honest. But
You're just catering to the French listeners of this podcast, Issam.
I'm not. Vive la France. No, but what did I want to say about Buckstead? To be honest, what do you expect of her? I think honestly that normally we should expect a Buckstead that should normally just be in that top 9, right? I mean that's.
Yeah.
I mean that is something that we can expect, but what do you think of I think her first race back is Dendermonde, so that should be a race normally if it rains a little where she should, if she has a good day, maybe even finish in the top 5, no?
Yeah, but it's not going to rain, unfortunately. It's going to be cold, and that's it. Just boring cold, no snow, no rain. Yeah, what I'm expecting from Backstedt, I'm expecting the greatest season ever. Like, wins, second places only. She's going to challenge Brandt. She's going to be the one saving us from Brandt utter domination, and then she's going to decide to race the World Championships in the U23 category, and Brandt still dominates. No. Look, it's very hard because she broke her wrist. She's been training again a bit. She's been on the trainer, but I don't know how good her endurance base is. Look, normally the thing with the endurance base is that it kind of means that your recovery becomes bad and you quickly tumble over, but she's doing a very limited campaign because she's starting so late, so how much will that really play in? She's not fatiguing herself. What I like here is that they're not rushing her into competition in races that don't suit her. Backstedt is probably a worse sand rider than Thibaut Nys, a worse sand rider than Puk Pietersen and Fouquenet. Like, combine all of them, well, that's an exaggeration, but Backstedt is just not good in the sand. You get the point. So they're not forcing her into competition there. They are kind of like Vida Lopez and San Roman. Same. She doesn't bother with these courses that don't suit her. She's going to come in Gavere. She's going to go to more races that suit her well. That's a smart decision. So Backstedt, smart decision. You're not going to start in Gavere, a course with heavy climbing. I mean, this is a place where she had one really good result when this race was in February, but it's such a rough race to start with. So it's smart. And yeah, I would say indeed, what can you expect? Well, it's hard because it's so close, but I would definitely place her in that big ballpark. I mean, everything from 6th to 2nd in my list is super close, and I would hope that Backstedt at least is able to make that. And I would also assume that there is some indication that she's on the right track, because if she isn't, then at that point, why don't they just call it a quit for the cross season? Then why don't they just try and focus back on the road again? So for me, definitely those expectations for Backstedt, and I would say that maybe we should give her some time, but there should be an opportunity for her to take a World Cup podium again this year. A win, yeah, maybe that becomes complicated, but never say never. I mean, last year she had a number of really, really good performances, and Zonhoven is a course where Backstedt potentially, if it's a bit muddy, could have another great opportunity, a bit like a week into her cross campaign.
All right. Now we know.
Yeah. And then I think we should wrap it up now.
Yeah.
And come back again in 2 days to discuss the racing in Gavere. Another World Cup. They hit us with a large number of World Cups this Christmas period. I think 5 in total. So, yeah, thank you so much, Issam.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And Gavere is definitely one that I'm looking forward to. It's a nice course. It always somewhat delivers. So I hope we will get some nice, close, exciting racing.
I wish all of our listeners Merry Christmas. Enjoy the time off with your family, friends, with whoever you're deciding to spend the days. Hopefully you're allowed to watch some racing on Boxing Day, and if not, we will be allowed to watch it, and we will squeeze in a recording before the Boxing Day dinner and then get to action. So thank you so much for the support in this Christmas period, and we will be back. Goodbye.
Bye.